على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم. اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. In this lesson, Ayatullah Mutahari studies two of the factors which contribute to Tarbiyah. One is strengthening willpower. In Farsi, he uses taqwiyat irade. Taqwiyat means to strengthen. Irade means will. And the second is ibadat, worship. So basically he says that some people don't distinguish between will and desire, between irade, which is will, and mail, which is desire. But they are very different. Desire is that something from normally outside attracts us towards itself. It's a kind of external pressure that takes you towards something. Will is internal power that makes you dominant over your decisions. You may go by desires, or you may stop, check, and then will something which is good for you. If you just go by desire, you have not strengthened your will. But if you are able to resist against strong desires, or when there are combination of desires, to take your time and assess them, evaluate them, and go by the one which gives you more enduring satisfaction and pleasure, more comprehensive one, it's a sign of having a strong willpower. A student may have desire for playing, all the time playing, especially when it's the time of exams. Maybe there are lots of football games or matches, or can play on the street and with his friends. But if he has a strong willpower, would not just go by desires, would see what's beneficial for him, what gives him more enduring satisfaction, and find that it's better that I study. So there are many things about being in control of your nafs and being in control of your decisions in Islamic literature. And we don't need to mention a lot because it's very obvious. As just example, we can refer to this saying of Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam in Nahjul Balagha, Sermon 16. Ala wa inna al-khataya khaylun shumus humila alayha ahluha. Ala wa inna taqwa mataya dhulul. So Amir al-Mu'minin says, sins are like horses which are not tamed, horses which are resisting against instruction of the rider. They are very wild. So when someone commits a sin, it's like someone who is riding a horse which is rebelling against him, takes him to where he later would regret. So those who commit sins, they may think they are in control of what they do, but in reality, they are pushed by their desires to where they have no reason to be. Yes, if someone becomes very committed to, sinning and sinful way of life and becomes a vicious person, then he doesn't need even attraction from outside. He thinks about things and does haram. But to begin, an ordinary person wouldn't go for sins. There is something from outside. And that is like a wild horse. That sometimes you say, let me try, but I don't go to wrong direction. But when you are riding a wild horse, you don't have any control. It's better not to ride it in the first place. But taqwa is maqaya dhulul. Taqwa is like having a horse or similar like camel that is very obedient, well trained, well tamed and trained, and just take you where you want to be. Taqwa is not pushing you to go to right direction. Indeed, taqwa is helping you. Without taqwa, it's like without a horse you want to go to far places. It's very difficult. But taqwa helps you and it's at your service. He says you don't find any school of pedagogy and education that would explicitly say that you should go by your desires. You don't need self-control. You don't need willpower. Why I say explicitly, it's what I added, because some may not be aware of the implications of what they say. And maybe implications of what they say is a kind of welcome for all kinds of desires. For example, he says existentialists like Sartre, they realized that their emphasis on free choice was sometimes misunderstood or misused, and then therefore they themselves later said that we don't mean that you go just by your desires. So no pedagogist would say that we should go by all our desires or go randomly by our desires. Certainly, they suggest that you need willpower to choose what suits you the best. In Islam, we say willpower is very important and aql or intellect should direct us. But the thing is that sometimes people may use aql just as a way to calculate and to find suitable means for the ends which are already adopted. Islamically, we say when we use aql, many times we mean aql which is already well-oriented, well-directed. It's not just a means for calculation and and finding the means. Aql comes with iman, with faith. But if someone is using aql just in the sense of reason, and reason is just to find out the means and do the calculations, then we say we need aql and knowledge to be equipped with iman. Iman tells us which ends we should choose, which ideal we should choose, and then we use aql and knowledge to find suitable ways for reaching them. But certainly, all is to help our will, our irada. This is one of the characteristics of human beings. Another thing that is very important in human beings is the need for worship and prayer. Some psychologists have done great research on human characteristics or distinctive features of human beings. And they believe that in human beings there is an inherent desire for and need and attraction towards worship and prayer. For example, they say in human beings, we have desire for beauty, we have desire for knowledge as such, not knowing for the sake of reaching something. No, knowing by itself is very important for us. Finding the truth for us is very important. Beauty for us as such is important. One of the things that we have in human beings is that they need to worship. They need to belong to a higher transcendent reality and show devotion. Without this, we would not feel happy. We would not feel tranquil. We need that. So some Western psychologists also have worked on this. And Ayatullah refers to an article which was translated into Farsi from apparently English. It doesn't say which language, but it was translated into Farsi and was published in the very first issue of the journal Maktab Tashayyu. You know, before revolution, we had two major journals in Qom published by ulama. One was Maktab Islam, which was published by Ayatullah Makarim Shirazi, Ayatullah Subhani, and many ulama contributed. One was Maktab Tashayyu, which was published by another group of scholars. So in the very first issue of Maktab Tashayyu, this article was published, and the idea was that human beings have this specific dimension of worship and prayer. Niyayesh. In Farsi, they call it Niyayesh. Niyayesh means prayer. Then he says, some people have made an objection. They say this genuine human need for prayer and worship is not well directed in Islam. Because this has to be very genuine. But in Islam, people may do ibadah and dua out of tama, out of expecting reward, or out of fear of going to hell. So they don't genuinely engage in ibadah or dua. They do it for gaining something or protecting themselves from something. Ayatollah Mutahari says this is not correct. Yes, in Islam we have different degrees of ibadah. It may start with ibadah of those who do it out of fear from fire or out of expectation for reward and heaven, but it doesn't end there. We should reach the point that we do ibadah out of love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Out of love for ibadah. For example, you all know this. Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam said, this is in Nahj al-Balagha, why saying 229? There are variations in the text, but the main idea is the same. إِنَّ قَوْمًا عَبَدُوا اللَّهَ طَمَعًا فَتِلْكَ عِبَادَةُ التُّجَّارِ. Some people worshipped Allah because they want to gain something. This is the tijara they do. This is the ibadah of trade and living. وَإِنَّ قَوْمًا عَبَدُوا اللَّهَ خَوْفًا فَتِلْكَ عِبَادَةُ الْعَبِيدِ. Some people have worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out of fear from punishment. This is the worship of slaves, servants. Servants not in the true sense, means servants of a worldly master or a slave of a worldly master. وَإِنَّ قَوْمًا عَبَدُوا اللَّهَ شُكْرًا. And we have also حُبًّا. And some people have worshipped Allah out of gratitude or out of love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَتِلْكَ عِبَادَةُ الْأَحْرَارِ. This is the ibadah of free people, which I think hur in these cases means noble, people who go by moral virtues. فَتِلْكَ عِبَادَةُ الْأَحْرَارِ. This is the worship of the noble people. He himself also, as you know, he says that to Allah, I have not worshipped you for fear or for, expecting reward. بَلْ وَجَدْتُكَ أَحْلًا لِلْعِبَادَةِ فَعَبَدْتُكَ. I found you someone that should be worshipped. You are worshipable. You are someone that deserves our complete devotion. And this is why I did. The result is that even if you know that through your worship, you are not going to gain anything for your akhirah. Suppose your position in the akhirah is fixed. For example, inshallah, you are already guaranteed your place in heaven. Are you going to stop worship or not? We have to reach the point that we do good things because we love them. For example, sometimes I think about myself. If I know that my position is fixed, it's not going to become better or worse. If, supposedly, am I going to stop what I'm doing now or not? If I stop, this is a sign of weakness, because it means that I was just working for reward or for forgiveness. But if I keep working with the same energy, or even more, because now I don't have worry, for example, then it shows that I really have made progress. I love things that Allah loves. If I do things that Allah loves, this is not enough. If I love what Allah loves and do, this is good. So, Islam doesn't say that ibadah has only one level. Islam says we welcome, we appreciate people who try to refrain from sins and bring good deeds, even if it is out of fear for punishment. Okay, it's better than not doing anything or not avoiding bad things. Or out of reward, love for reward and heaven. No problem. It's better than not doing them. What we say, this is not the end of the story. It's the beginning. And it has higher levels. We have this famous story that, as you know, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was very much spending his night in ibadah. He had some rest, but he was spending large portion of his night in ibadah, personal ibadah. During the day, he was going for Salatul Jama'ah, but in the night, he was alone. He was doing lots of ibadah. To the extent that, according to Suratul Fath number 2, sorry, I think I have to find Surah maybe Muzammil, if I'm not mistaken. قم الليل إلا قليلا نصفه أو انقص منه قليلا أو زد عليه ورتل القرآن ترتيلا. I should check the reference. He had instruction from Allah and he did, and Allah says, إن ربك يعلم أنك تقوم أدنى ثلثي الليل. Sometimes 2/3 of the night he was doing ibadah. 2/3 of the night he was doing ibadah. Sometimes he was doing, half of it, sometimes 1/3 of it. If he had very hard day, difficult, tiring, I don't know, or situation of the night was not suitable, so maybe 1/3. But sometimes half, sometimes 2/3. So, one night when Rasulullah was engaged in ibadah, one of his wives saw him and said, basically, why you are putting too much pressure on yourself? In Surah Al-Fath, Ayah 2, we have this phrase, لِيَغْفِرَ لَكَ إِنَّا فَتَحْنَا لَكَ فَتًحًا مُبِينًا. The previous sentence then says, لِيَغْفِرَ لَكَ اللَّهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنبِكَ وَمَا تَأَخَّرَ. So she said, Allah has forgiven your sins. You are a prophet, you are a messenger. Why you are putting so much pressure on yourself? Even sometimes his feet used to swallow when he was standing for a bath. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Afala akunu abdan shakura." Shouldn't I be very grateful to Allah? If Allah has given me lots of blessings, and even if Allah has forgiven me, shouldn't I do ibadah out of gratitude? So, ibadah of Rasulullah was not out of fear, was out of love, out of gratitude, and therefore his soul was aspiring for ibadah, for salah. Even body to some extent was able to come along, but the soul is so much interested in ibadah that sometimes body falls short, falls behind. In general, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says that mu'min has different characteristics. One of the characteristics of mu'min is badanuhu minhu fi ta'ab wa nasu minhu fi raha. His body is tired from all the good work that he's doing, but people are comfortable. He doesn't put his burden on people. Even for ibadah, he doesn't say, I do ibadah, you do my work. But he does what others do, plus he does lots of other things, extra things. So body can be tired. Not body becomes ill, but body becomes tired. But this has its own energy. When you're asleep, but you remember how much good you have done with your body during the day. You didn't just, rest and did nothing. You didn't, just enjoy yourself. You really used your body. And in the long term, this is actually very healthy for the body to be used and be active. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Afdalun nas man ashaqa al-ibadah وعانقها وباشرها بجسده وتفرغ لها. Best people are those who love ibadah, ishq. Ishq is very much used in Farsi, rarely in our literature. I mean, Islamic literature. Some people even have doubted whether in Arabic ishq is, used in the past. Ayatullah Mutari says we have few cases in which ishq is used. One of them is this hadith. Another one is in the hadith that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam, when was the Battle of Siffin. So he says that either going to Siffin or coming back from Siffin, as you know, this famous thing that we mentioned in Muharram also. They reached Karbala, and Amirul Mu'minin took handhold of the soil of Karbala, and he said, Wahan laka ayyatuha turbah. He somehow congratulated this soil. Ha huna munaf rukabin wa masari'u ushaqin. This is where some lovers of Allah will fall. Will be killed, will become martyrs. Ushaq. So we have ishq over there. We have in some cases. So it's not that we don't have at all, but mostly in Arabic we have hubb, and it's general. Ishq means excessive hubb, for example. So Rasulullah says, "Afdalun nas man ashiqa al-ibadah." The best of people are those who really love ibadah. Wa'anaqaha. They hug ibadah. Mu'anaqa from unuq. Unuq means neck. Sometimes for greeting people, they do mu'anaqa, means, for example, they put their faces next to each other or neck. But basically in English we can say they hug, they embrace ibadah. وَبَاشَرَهَا بِجَسَدِهِ. With their whole body they get engaged ibadah. But not just body, it's out of love, body is engaged. وَتَفَرَّغَ لَهَا, and makes himself or herself free for ibadah. When you are doing ibadah, you should free your mind, your heart for ibadah. Like, when you have a very dear guest, you try to be free. You don't, work, you don't eat or drink or, answer a phone call. You just try to be available for your guest. In another hadith, Rasulullah said, Tuba liman ashaqa al-ibadah wa ahabbaha biqalbih wa basharaha bijasadih wa tafarraga laha, which ends with this language. فَهُوَ لَا يُبَالِي عَلَى مَا أَصْبَحَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا عَلَى عُسْرٍ أَمْ عَلَى يُسْرٍ. So he says, well done to those who love ibadah. They love it with their heart. They engage with ibadah with their body, make themselves free, including their mind, their heart, free with presence of heart for ibadah. And they don't care. They are so much engaged with ibadah, they don't care that what is their worthy situation. Is it difficult, ala usran, or is it easy, ala yusran? They so much love ibadah that they don't think about that. Imagine if you have not seen your child or your mother or father that you love for many years. And now they come to you as guests. You don't bother, whether temperature is high or low, or you have something in fridge or not. You're just focusing on that person. You just want to enjoy this meeting, this encounter. They say that the late Ayatullah Sayyid Ali Qadi Tabatabai, Ridwanullah Alai, teacher of Allama Tabat, spiritual teacher of Allama Ayatullah Bahjat, and many of our ulama, he had, in general, very difficult financial situation. He was very poor. Although he was receiving money, but he was spending on others. For himself, he had very difficult situation. At one point, even the landlord in Najaf asked him to empty the house, and he sent his family somewhere, and he himself stayed in one hostel address. So he had very difficult time. Also, some people were not understanding him, and they made accusations against him, and so he had different kinds of problems. But his students say that he was saying that with Allah's blessing, when I start my salat, I don't remember any of those problems. When I am in salat, just I enjoy salat. Even if I have nothing to eat, even if I don't have anything to, buy, when I'm in salat, I don't. As soon as my salat finishes, then I may start thinking about it. These are lovers of ibadah. So in Islam, we have different levels of ibadah, and it doesn't need to be always for expectation of reward or protection from fire. He then mentions Dua Kumel, refers to Dua Kumel, mentioned, that in Dua Kumel also we have this concept of Habni sabartu ala adabik, fakayfa asbiru ala firaqik. Even if I'm able to remain patient with respect to your adab, how can I be patient with respect to separation from you? The separation is the main thing, that we don't want to have separation from Allah. He refers to this phrase from Munajat al-Sha'baniyya. Ilahi habli kamal al-intifa' ilayk. وأن الأبصار قلوبنا بالضياء نظرها إليك. The aim is very high. Aim is not just protection from fire. Aim is attachment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He refers to Amir al-Mu'minin saying to Kumayl, the famous Kumayl Naziyar. Imam has another, he quotes Dua Kumayl, but there is also other hadith, and maybe more than this, of course. In the famous hadith, we have this that Amir al-Mu'minin said to Kumayl, people are three: Alimun Rabbani, Muta'allamun ala sabil al-najah, and Hamadun Ra'a. Well, either they're godly scholars or seekers of knowledge from godly scholars. They are on the path of najat, salvation. The third are people that they have no basis, no one to hold on to, and they themselves lack stability. So they go by every call. They go by every wind that comes and can take them. And in the same hadith, Amir al-Mu'minin says, the earth would never be empty from hujjah of Allah. Either zahiran mashkura wa imma khaifan maghmura. Either the hujjah of Allah is visible and you can identify him, or it's concealed and hidden. But the hujjah of Allah will always be on the earth. And then Imam refers to what people who are very closely connected by Hajj of Allah and maybe awliyaullah after them, that how they have received the knowledge, true knowledge and certainty from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he says, حَجَمَ بِهِمُ الْعِلْمِ عَلَى حَقِيقَةِ الْبَصِيرَةِ. Knowledge has attacked them. His knowledge comes towards them and surprises them. Knowledge that Allah gives comes to you. And they have reality of insight, basira, وَبَاشَرُوا رُوحَ الْيَقِينِ. And they have the spirit of certainty. And وَاسْتَلَانُوا مَسْتَوْعَرَهُ الْمُتْرَقُونَ. What people of dunya find it very boring or difficult, they find it very interesting, and they are acquainted with it. أَنِسُوا بِمَا اسْتَوْحَشَ مِنْهُ الْجَهْلُ. What ignorant people find to be, something that they cannot relate to, they have owns with them. So, in Islam, we have certainly this acknowledgement and indeed recommendation that we rise to higher levels of ibadah, and we would not do it just for the sake of gaining or something or avoiding something. I think we stop here, and inshallah we continue bi'Iznillah in the next session. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Yes, Muhammad, are you there? Yes, Redmi. Redmi.
Yes, Zara.
Alaykum salam.
Hello.
Salaam alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Bismillah.
I have a question. I have to speak in English or Urdu?
English, please.
Okay. I have a question. Actually, some time before, I had a question in my mind. When we name a child, does it affect his personality? According to Islam, what is the effect of name on a person on his personality? Do it determine his personality or not?
Sorry, your voice is not clear for me. I just understood personality. What's your question?
Okay, I will repeat my question again. My question is, as we name a child, in the Islam, what it says about the naming of the child? Actually, when we name a child, we say that it affects the personality of the child. We should name it goodly. We have to give the good name. I wanted to know what in the Islam is about it.
Yes. Thank you. The question is what Islam recommends about names of children. So, what we have is that one of the rights of child over parents, because parents have rights over children, children also have rights over parents. One of the rights of children over parents is to give them good name which is meaningful and is beautiful. And also it can vary from environment to environment. So a name will remain with this child forever. And therefore this name must be something that the child would be proud with, or at least happy with. Not something that the child would be embarrassed, for example. And also it has impact on his behavior, on his conduct. So it should be something that indicates something good, indicates a virtue, indicates, I don't know, some good quality or some good personalities. So therefore, it's very important. You should also consider the future of this child, because sometimes parents give a name to a child that is only suitable for a young child. When someone becomes, old, that's it, like a childish name. So with prayer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and consultation, then you take your time and think what would be a respectable, inspiring name. And then you will give it to your child.
Mohammed, are you there? Mohammed?
Yes. Yes. Yes, Mujtaba, please mention your city also.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Shaykhana, recently I started watching your YouTube channel, and at the moment I'm following a series of Kitab, the 40 Hadith to Imam Khomeini.
Yes.
And I have one question in terms of Sayr and Suluk. Does a
Yes.
person have to have a teacher that is always with him to guide him? Or because at the moment I live in the West and it is very hard for you to get a teacher for Sayr and Suluk, and I just rely, on Allah Azza wa Jal, and then on the books and the on videos that I watch from yourself and other shuyukh. So, my question is, in terms of Sayr and Suluk, do I have to have a teacher who I contact with personally, who guide me and advise me, or can I just stay on the way I'm doing it right now? Thank you very much.
Can you mention your city first, please, Mujtaba?
Stoke-on-Trent.
You are in which city?
I'm in Stoke-on-Trent in the UK, United Kingdom.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
May Allah bless you. The answer is we all have need for teachers. But Alhamdulillah, we already have general teachers. So we have the Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We have Imams and the Imam of our time as our great teachers. We have our ulama, our scholars as our teachers. We have our maraja as our teachers. We have books as guidelines. We have to act upon these things. And at the same time, look around if we can have a special mentor. This is something that it's worth searching. Even if you spend years and you find someone like this, it's worth. But it's not something that you can make your journey conditional upon finding a specific mentor. No, you have already lots of teachers, lots of instructions. You have to implement them. Having a specific mentor helps, but it's not a condition. When you reach the point that you have implemented everything available and then you wonder what to do, definitely Allah provides you with that mentor. Right now, most of people, 99.99% of people, their problem is not that they don't know what to do. The problem is that still they haven't implemented what they know. So, having a mentor helps a lot, but it's not necessary. You just look for it and ask Allah to give you someone qualified and keep going. When you reach the time that you really need a mentor, because you don't know what is the next step. Certainly Allah will provide you with guidance. الَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Those who struggle in our way will certainly guide them towards our path. This is promise of Allah with emphasis. لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ لام التأكيد, نون مشدد for ta'kid. Allah says certainly will guide them. So we need to show to Allah that we are really struggling for guidance. If someone has already instructions and has not implemented them, he cannot say, I did mujahada for guidance. Inshallah, Allah helps you in your search.
Yes, Zahra.
We have 5 minutes. So,
Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
alaikum assalam.
This is Zara from India. So I have two questions. My first question is, does Muslim girl can do vlogging with hijab, YouTube vlogging?
Vlogging,
It's sort of a journal, like a video blog, that sort of thing.
what do they do?
They basically make a video journal, like recording what they're doing or something like that.
So if it is with hijab and the content, the subject is respectable, is dignified, it's okay. But if it is not respectable, it's something that stimulates, strangers to look at your body or your way to talk, etc. No. But for example, if you are with hijab, dignity, talk about knowledge, talk about charity, try to give people, inspiration, it's okay. But if it's just a way of attracting people toward, your body or, your, personal life, even it's not a matter of hijab, but, sometimes people share too much about their personal life. There is no need. It's better to keep your personal life personal. It's not a public life. Even politicians don't make all their life public. Yeah, everyone should have private life, personal life, and we shouldn't put everything on internet.
Yes, Anjum Akhtar.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Aka, my question is related to today's day. Okay, my friend, Christian friends, we are arguing one day about the Prophet Isa and Prophet Muhammad. As they said, Prophet Isa, as soon as they born, and he announced his prophethood. Right?
Yeah.
My voice is clear?
Yes.
Yes, and they are taking, your prophet is taking 40 years to announce the prophethood. So as we know and we believe, we read in the Quran that Allah made the Noor before the Adam and everything, and he showed the 40 years in the personality, he got the title of the As-Sadiq Al-Amin, everything, but they are remain in that point. But why? Means our prophet are prefer, because he speak as soon as he declared the prophethood as soon as he born, and your prophet has taken the 40 years. So how can I explain them? My question is, they are not agreed to with my points. So you give me some points, please.
First of all, we should not argue with Christians about these issues.
No, this is not argue, it's just talk, or we have to express, they must, we want to express our views, and they must accept.
So what's your city?
I'm talking from Kuwait.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so as a kind of sisterly discussion with them, if you have a discussion, because I always avoid, saying that which prophet is, for example, higher, is Isa higher than Moses, or things like this, because this is up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We believe our prophet is the best servant of Allah, but we don't need to make this, something that we argue with. But as a sisterly discussion, when your discussion reached this point, so our idea is that, first of all, when Quran says, actually, so even this is learned from Quran. When Isa alayhi salam was born, among things that he said, Anni Abdullah Atani al-Kitab wa ja'alani nabiyya. I am servant of Allah, he's Abdullah. He gave me the book and made me a prophet. But this doesn't mean that at that time he was given the book. Ja'al is designation by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has designated Bible or gospel, and more precisely Injil, to be given to Jesus. This decision was made out of time frame. But when it's going actually to take place in time framework, this doesn't necessarily mean that it happened when he was just born. It means that he's going to become a prophet. This is number one. Number two, even if someone becomes a prophet in earlier age, this doesn't mean that he is better. In Irfan, they say, for some people, cash, whether it's in the form of receiving revelation or receiving inspiration and being connected to Allah, can take time. Some people start it sooner, some people later. And they say normally when it happens later is more reliable and more stable. For example, two talabe embark on a spiritual journey. One of them may soon start having good dreams and, even having, mukashafa, shuhud. One may not happen anything to him after 30, 40 years. No Arif says that the first one is better. They say no. Maybe the second one is going to start with a deeper and more established and more mature. Even, for example, like Ayatullah Qadi Tabatabai, tens of years, he didn't feel anything. He didn't have anything special. And then after, I think, 40 years, open his eyes, and he became one of the exceptional cases in the history of, Islam among non-ma'soom. So there is no such a thing that if you have it earlier is better. The main thing is Allah's measurement, and he finds which heart is more capable of receiving more complete revelation. Our time is over and I have to go somewhere. So if
if you want to take question, we can. Otherwise, you can continue with dua.
Maybe one more question, and then if you can write down the questions for the next session. So if we can have one more question.
Yeah, Mohammed.
You're welcome.
Yes, Muntazir Imam.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm from Quetta. My question is, I hear that if someone walks on carpet with shoes, it's a sin. Is that true? Thank you.
If someone works on carpet?
If someone walk on carpet with shoes, it's a sin. I hear that. Is that true?
Why? Is it like a, yeah. If it is a private carpet, clean, People, at home, for example, do it for life, use it for life. They pray over this. And I go with my shoes under carpet. They are not happy. Oh, this is a sin. Or, for example, I am causing dirtiness to something which is clean and it leads to washing and extra cost. This is israf. But otherwise, here, for example, in the West, many offices have carpets and they themselves go with shoes and you go with the shoes there. So there is no issue. The main issue is the owner of the carpet should be happy and you should not cause israf by making something clean dirty and, then they have to wash it, they have to spend time, etc.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
One more time, I want to ask a thing. Actually, some time before, it came a question in my mind, so I thought to ask. And the question that I was bringing in my mind, it was like this. As we know, there were so many bad people that had gone yet up to now. So many bad people have gone who were against the Islam and all that. Sometimes I used to think, can it be because of their bad names they have done like this wrong? To much extent, it can be like this.
About the question of names, so you think, is it possible that some people have done bad things because they were given bad names?
Yes. If they would be having the bad meanings, or is it like this that they have done the bad because of they have been given the bad names?
It's possible, but it's very rare because many of people who do bad things, they have normal names. It's not that they have bad names.
Yes. Because they were, then I used to answer it to myself by saying that, because there were so many people like that also who were having the very good names. Like if we see, there was Ubaidullah who was at the time, but he was very cruel. Otherwise, his name was very good.
Yeah,
Ubaidullah.
you just need to make sure, as I said, you choose proper name, and then you have to focus on other things. So your child needs tarbiyah, needs good schooling, good friends, etc. Good name is something that is done at the beginning, and then you don't worry about it. If you become too sensitive, even people keep switching between good names, from this name to another name. No, choose a good name and then focus on other things.
Okay, thank
May Allah bless you. I take your leave. Inshallah, we meet after 2 weeks. Iltimas dua.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Khuda Hafiz.
Thanks. Allah Hafiz.